best weekend here at home for you guys?
Yeah, tough. It's I hate the mindset of it, but I mean, man, those were three great basketball games. Overtime, and a 2 point game that came down to a buzzer beater. Um, I don't know how good we are. I'll leave that for later in the year. We'll figure that out. But I do know that Hillsdale has one loss on the season, and it was to us. Moorhead's undefeated on the season, and Duluth has one loss on the season and has everyone back from an Elite Eight team. So we know those are three of the best teams in the country. We also know that all three games were absolute battles that came down to literally the last shot in all three games. So you'd hope to make some correlation there and go, oh, we might be pretty good too. But the bottom line is we're 4-5, which is, at this time we have a losing record, and so that you are what you are. But we also know what we're capable of and what level we can play at when we're playing our best. So it's a lot of mixed emotions, and honestly, it kind of doesn't matter. We know it is what it is, and we have to move on and just try to play better and keep improving. Because I do think we were a lot better this week than we had been in previous weeks.
Yeah. When you're in these tight games and you come out on the wrong end of it, not getting the big bucket, I mean, how do you improve upon that and fix it, make it the other way next time around?
Yeah, I think if we lose by 10 to 15 to 20, usually it's because we weren't ready, we weren't prepared, or we weren't, maybe we just weren't as good. When you lose those close ones, it always comes down to, executing. It comes down to little things, free throws, obviously being the one that is easy to point at, shooting. It's a tough deal when you play Minnesota Duluth and you go 3 of 21 from three and still have a shot to win, because if against them, if you don't make threes, you normally just get pounded. So in some ways, I thought that was the best we played in a long time. But then the other part of it is it comes down to coaching, because in a close game, there is one thing or two things or three things that we could do to get us another basket or prevent them from getting another basket. And those ones hit hard, because that there's things you could have done differently to put your players in a better spot. And maybe that is at the end of the game, or maybe that's with 4 minutes to go or 3 minutes to go. And I think that's the hardest part as a coach or a player, is knowing that any one thing would have changed the outcome, and we didn't do whatever that one thing is, and they did, and I guess that's basketball.
There's Max and Dylan filling up the stat sheet quite a bit this past weekend. I mean, what did you think of those two performances, and how can they maybe build upon that going forward?
Yeah, I think they're the two best players in the conference. And I wouldn't say that lightly. Obviously people can use that as bulletin board material, whatever they want. It's just they are, and they're sophomores. So physically and basketball wise, they have every single thing you could ever ask for out of a star basketball player. They're both really smart. They both care. They're about the right things. The only flaw that they have, as they have lots of flaws as players and people, like we all do, but the only flaw they have as stars right now is it's new for them. We had Max Bjorklund last year. Now it's those two. It's new for them, and they play different positions, and just figuring out how to mesh that, and when to go to one, when to go to the other, how they want to be winning games, like what's their spot, what's their moment. They both had some big moments, but we got to really define that, and obviously that's one of my jobs, to try to help those guys and put them in the best spots rather than hinder them. And it's on the rest of our guys to make sure they're in the best spots and to help them do that. And Brian's right there; he's another all-conference level talent, and Sam's playing really well, and Carson makes big plays at the end of every game. So we have the pieces, we have the guys, we have what we need. It's just now figuring out how do we all mesh together in the nuances. We get the big picture meshing, and we're good at that, but now it's the nuances of what exactly are we going to do with 12 seconds to go down three? What exactly are we going to do with 2 minutes to go when Max is cooking, to get him the ball? What are we going to do when Dylan's 8 of 12 to make sure he doesn't end the game 8 of 12 and finishes it something of 16 or 17, which probably causes us to win? And those are the nuances where you just don't have yet.
Yeah. Do you have any injury updates? Or I imagine hopefully by December 7th, conference play, you guys are really fully healthy.
We're healthy. It's good. I said after Hillsdale, you know, are we a little more tired than we would have been if we would have been healthy the whole year? Sure. Are we a little more beat up because of not having preseasons? Are we a little behind? All that stuff can be true, but we now are healthy. There's not major injuries anymore. You know, at least to our main guys who've been in and out of the lineups.
Right.
And after playing 3 games last week against the best competition we're going to see all year, I would hope that playing 1 game a week, no more back-to-backs the rest of the year until the conference tournament, if we're lucky enough to get to that spot, we should be able to not only be healthy, but to be in better shape now coming off of those injuries, because if you can play the gauntlet that we've played up to this point from a physical standpoint, it's going to get easier. The basketball won't get any easier. It's still going to be impossible. Conference games are always harder than non-conference for a variety of reasons. But physically, we will never be asked to do what we just did again until, if we are fortunate enough to either play in the conference championship or the second round of the NCAA tournament. And in either case, if we get there, I'm okay being a little tired.
You'd be running on adrenaline. But Viterbo coming in on Thursday, what's the scouting report? What have you seen on tape?
The theme of the year has been me being bad at scheduling, and I'm going to add this to bad scheduling. They're really, really tough. They defend their butts off. They're one of the best coached defensive teams I've ever seen, and they have been for years. And you know, we were desperate for games, and the moment I scheduled it, I went, oh no, that's not the kind of non-D2 opponent you want to play. They're a very, very good NAIA team. They certainly can beat us. They certainly will give us problems. The flip side of it is, you know, I don't know, maybe it's better for us to have to go play a basically D2 level team rather than go play, you know, a team that we know we're going to beat. So hopefully this challenge keeps us a little more on edge. And the key is we got to be ready for next week. Now, we have to beat Viterbo, but we need to be playing our absolute best on next Thursday when we play Wayne State. And I think playing Viterbo is going to do a better job of helping us get there than maybe some of the other teams that we could have scheduled.
And last thing, I asked the same question to Casey. Playing in the practice gym, it's not ideal, but now that it's been going here for a little bit, have the guys gotten used to it? Is it affecting them at all?
Well, it's weird. It feels weird.
Yeah.
It's odd. The setup's odd, for sure. The irony of all ironies is, if we would have played in the Berry this weekend, and that would have been our first 2 games in the Berry, and we would have shot free throws the way we did, and if we would have shot threes the way we did, everybody would have said, no, we would have won those games if we actually practiced where we played. So in some ways, it's a really weird way of looking at it. I think the fact that we did it in the practice gym can cut out all those excuses for this year and you know, and past years in some ways too. I'm like, we can miss shots even if we practice there. But yeah, I mean, I think anytime you screw up your routine, it's going to impact you. Anytime things are different than what you're expecting and used to, it's going to impact you. And you know, you try to, you know, just focus on what you can control, but it definitely makes it feel a little different than what we're used to. And you know, we're going to have that again next year, and we're lucky to have that next year as we change arenas. But I do think that, you know, the key is just trying to not worry about that stuff and adapt and adjust. And I think one of the reasons we play so well on the road and at the end of the year and on neutral floors, we've been fantastic, is because we're used to it and other people aren't. Other people just have the same setup for the last 20 years, and we always have change and always have different stuff. And I think that prepares us uniquely for tournament play. And as long as we win enough throughout the course of the season to get there, I think it's actually a hidden advantage by the end of the season.